The story begins in a restricted area in a camp in the middle of the forest. A guy is lying on the ground with blood on his shirt. In front of him, a bunch of people are dead. Desperate, he says that there's something inside this yellow dust. The outline of something approaches the guy, drawing a gigantic sword completely bathed in red with a few bells on the tip. The boy begs for help, but at that very moment, a strange creature leaps out of the bushes and grabs his foot. The guy is dragged into the smoke, leaving a trail behind. Sometime later, his body is found dead. A group of friends looks at him, commenting that he shouldn't have been wandering around there. The one with glasses complains that now they'll have to mark it as a casualty, while the one with black hair says that, judging by the footprints, they'll have to start working before it's too late. That's when the beautiful one hears the sound of water beside her. The three turn around and she starts moving with her hand in her pocket. She pulls out a knife and makes a cut on her hand. The blade becomes bathed and then her blood seems to interact with the sword, beginning to flow up her arm. The one with glasses then points to the dust and says it's coming. The girl takes a step forward and responds that she'll handle it. That little knife appears to have absorbed her entire arm and has now turned into a massive sword. On her back, it shows that she is part of the Yellow Dust Task Force. The scene then shifts to a completely different place. In a building, a job interview for public service in the city of Seoul is taking place. A bunch of people are in the waiting room while numbers are called. In the bathroom, someone says they feel like they're about to die. He doesn't want to go in, he just wants to go home. His heart is about to explode. With his hand on his chest, heart racing, he says this is impossible. He goes to the sink, splashes water on his face, and tries to calm down, repeating to himself that yes, he can do it. He just needs to take a few more pills, and even though there are a lot, at least they work. Suddenly, he glances to the side and a little bird lands on a branch. The tiny animal looks at him and the guy stares back intently. After a second of silence, the creature opens a big eye, asking what he's looking at and telling him he's screwed. However, the guy isn't even that shaken, just commenting that panic attacks really are a disaster. Meanwhile, on the way to the interview room, the news report shows that 4 guys who were camping went missing near a province. Our protagonist keeps walking, telling himself that he can do it. His name is Maru Han. He is 29 years old and the most average person possible. He's just an ordinary student from a regular school who graduated from a mediocre university and is struggling to find a job. Man, if that's his mother, I'm scared. I don't know what's bigger, her heart or her jaw. This is the 5th year that our guy has been trying to become a public servant, and only now has he reached the interview stage. At that moment, a woman enters the room and calls his name. He immediately stands up excitedly, saying he's here, while repeating to himself that this time he'll definitely make it. The guy marches stiffly, telling himself it's going to be easy, until he comes face to face with the big boss behind the laptop staring at him. The guy's fall is hard, and the interviewer asks why he wants to become a civil servant. He blurts out awkwardly, shouting that he wants to give back to the community and help society. Yeah, that's it. But in his head, he's thinking that what he actually wants is stability, a steady salary, a secure life, and not too many adventures. Then the interviewer asks what he would do if his superior did something wrong. Maru replies that honestly, he would point out what the person did wrong and try to find a solution, but would remain flexible and positive. He knows that if he says he wouldn't do anything, these guys won't approve him, so he's just lying, as if he would actually get involved in other people's business. The guy then asks how he handles people. With a bright and confident smile, he says he's terrible at it. He can't communicate well, gets stressed easily, and was bullied at school because of his panic attacks and everything else. That's what he said, but in his head, he was going to say that he's super friendly, has great friends, and still keeps in touch with his classmates. The interviewer looks confused, and the fool realizes he said what he was supposed to think and thought what he was supposed to say. What an idiot. The guy just clears his throat and says they'll move on to the last question. Even a flash of light reflects off his glasses as he asks how Maru handled the most difficult moment of his life. Looking like a complete fool, Maru says that life has been pretty easy for him, and he hasn't really gone through much. But the guy insists, telling him to just mention any problem that comes to mind. Maru, all twisted up, says that nothing really comes to mind, except for that time he went to the mountains with his father. That's when he recalls a memory of himself near that yellow mist. His heart starts racing and he remembers the black creature with golden eyes staring at him. Now his breathing becomes shallow. The creature in front of him had countless eyes sprouting from its head, with a pile of bloody bodies on the ground while Maru was still just a child. Now frozen in the interview, his vision begins to blur and the chair tips backward, making him fall to the ground. He stares at the ceiling, everything spinning, until the interviewer approaches, calling for Mr. Han, shaking his shoulders and asking if he's okay. However, in the middle of his panic attack, the boy tries to hold back his vomit. Too late, the interviewer must have gotten completely drenched. And just like that, we're back at his house with him sprawled out on the bed, mumbling that it was a disaster. He's sure that interview is a lost cause. Now without a job, without a girlfriend, and without friends, how is he supposed to live an ordinary life? Suddenly, someone knocks on the door and he has no idea who it is. Still a mess, he stumbles to the door and opens it, asking what it is. Man, it's a Giga Chad woman. Or maybe it's not even a woman, I can't say for sure. The towering human asks why he didn't answer sooner. He calls her mom, but then sees her stepping into the room, 3 meters tall, built like a JoJo character. But of course, a mother is always a mother. She says she brought him some food and was about to leave. He thanks her, asking if there's any meat. She replies that there isn't, just kimchi and beans. He thanks her anyway. With a jawline that would make mewing practitioners jealous, she glances around and notices that all he's been eating is instant noodles, dirtying napkins, and drinking soda. Meanwhile, he sits there, all crook but happy with his meal. Seeing the mess around him, she starts tidying up, wondering how he can live in such filth. He says he'll clean it later, but she's more interested in how the interview went. That's the final blow. Now the poor guy slumps to the floor, completely defeated. He mutters to himself that there's no way he's telling her he vomited on the interviewer. His mother crosses her arms and smacks his back, saying that if he can't even pass this one, there's no point in worrying. While he suffers, she keeps cleaning. A while later, she even hands him some pocket money. He's moved by her kindness but refuses, saying that he's an adult now and needs to work. But man, she just stretches out her massive arm, activating every muscle, and he immediately accepts. She scratches her gigantic chin and comments that if he failed the interview, then his shaman must have been right. She then tells him that he has to visit the mountain. For a moment, he looks terrified, but in the next, we're already there. The sun is blazing and the guy is wearing a sweater and pants. Now that's a true otaku. As he wonders how many years it's been, he realizes he never imagined he'd be back here, standing in front of the mountain where everything happened. But then he remembers that his mother spoke with an excellent shaman, consulting about why he couldn't land a job. The shaman's response was that it wasn't due to his panic attacks or ADHD. It was because his father, who died 20 years ago and mysteriously disappeared, had left a barrier on his soul that needed to be cleansed. Until he did that, he wouldn't be able to move forward in life. To become a public servant, he had to make an offering on the mountain to appease his father's soul. But after walking so much, he has no idea when he'll finally reach his destination. Until after a while, he stands before a gate and says, "This is it." He opens it and pauses for a second, glancing to the side. At that moment, he seems to see an identical version of himself. Given its transparency, I guess it's either a soul or a memory. The boy rushes to the house's entrance and slowly starts opening the door. Inside, a man stands with his back turned. Maru fully opens the door and just stands there staring. After a moment, he moves closer, tugs at his father's pant leg, and says he's hungry. But his father seems to have a strange expression and suddenly starts screaming. The boy flinches, and with that, the illusion vanishes. Then he feels a sharp pain in his chest and realizes that another panic attack is coming. He takes a deep breath and exhales. A bit calmer now, he reaches into his backpack, pulls out the liquor, and pours it into a cup. He tosses it around the house while telling his father that he hopes he's having fun wherever he is. He explains that he only came because his mother asked him to, asking his father to rest in peace. That's why he's there, to offer prayers to the spirits of the mountain. He recounts that after his father passed, his mother worked tirelessly so he could grow up and find a job. As he performs the prayer and offering, that yellow dust starts creeping in. Maru wonders if all this smoke is because there's a fire in the mountain. He starts running, reminding himself that safety comes first. But then he hears a strange voice echoing, repeating, "Safety first." He wonders if it was just an echo and looks back. Within the yellow mist, a figure emerges. "Ma'am, you've seen this before, so why are you still standing there?" A bloated-bellied, burst-headed monster appears, repeating, "Safety first." Poor Maru has so many hallucinations that he assumes it's just another one. He wipes his eyes, expecting it to disappear. But whenever it is, it keeps approaching him. He knows something is wrong and that he better start running. But then something pierces through his stomach. Already on his knees, he wonders if this is how he's going to die. Spending his whole life studying, struggling to get a job, and never even getting to enjoy anything. On the other hand, at least if he dies, he won't have to worry about work or bills anymore. He smirks, saying that he knows no one will care. But then he remembers his Giga Chad mother. She always worked hard, supported him no matter what, and was happy just to see her son doing well. The courage of Giga Chad runs through his veins, and he starts getting up, even with that thing still impaled in him, saying he won't die here. However, the creature catches a scent and, looking all strange, starts moving toward him. Repeating the same words about safety first, the monster moves in to take a bite, and inside its mouth, an eye is visible. The creature latches onto Maru's waist, and he tries to push his torso away to avoid being bitten. However, the monster's mouth is huge, and it sinks its teeth into his shoulder. The poor guy screams in agony, thinking to himself that if this keeps up, he'll pass out. That's when he remembers his father telling him to eat. Well, if the monster can bite, so can he. He bites into the creature's neck, tearing off a chunk. Damn, this boy is brutal. The monster never expected the tables to turn like this, and now it's writhing in pain, while the massive eye inside its mouth keeps staring at him. From within its iris, a dark energy spreads, leaking out of its head. Maru's mind is suddenly flooded with visions of countless bodies being dragged away by these creatures, a kind of carnage where the monsters slaughter each other. Watching over all of it is a strange green eye, observing the battlefield from above. Maru tries to comprehend what he's seeing, who's speaking to him, and whether he might already be dead. His mouth is filled with a metallic taste, and he wonders if this is the taste of death. Someone calls his name. Once again, he wonders who it could be this time. Slowly, he opens his eyes, and a guide at his left asks what he's doing in a restricted area. With his mouth still bloody, Maru is confused and quickly stands up in shock. He immediately looks around, wondering where that monster went or the creature that emerged from the yellow dust. The guy in the Hawaiian shirt wants to know what Maru saw and what he said. Maru explains that a yellow mist appeared beside him. He was attacked by a monster, and now he just woke up. He was sure he was going to die because his stomach had been pierced through. The people who found him exchange glances and signal to each other. The guy in the Hawaiian shirt comments that when the alarm went off about a demon, he thought it was a false alert, but apparently it wasn't. Moreover, it looks like this kid killed it. The girl responds that it's impossible. Sure, you can gain a demon's power through its blood, but you can't immediately use its abilities. The guy glances at Maru, calls his name, and asks if he knows what happened yesterday. Standing there in his torn shirt like some kind of fashion challenger, Maru wonders what he means by yesterday. Then he looks at his phone and nearly jumps. He's been unconscious for an entire day. Meanwhile, the dude comments that if he survived for this long, he definitely gained abilities. The girl says it's too soon to make any claim since he just woke up and won't understand the situation yet. The guy reassures her, saying not to worry, that everyone goes through this, then places his hands on Maru's shoulders, saying he arrived at the perfect time, he's going to have to participate. Maru has no idea what the guy means, but he's told to change his clothes first since his current ones are in tatters. A short time later, they're back at the port for the orientation for new employees in the special service. Now Maru is sitting there in his old shirt, completely lost. How did he suddenly end up at an orientation for government officials? Not to mention the atmosphere is anything but welcoming. Everyone looks strange with unsettling expressions. That's when someone in red clogs walks in. She tugs on her pants and damn, another Giga Chad woman. Seriously, is everyone here doing mewing? She introduces herself as Yu Young, head of this place, and welcomes the new employees. Maru raises his hand and says that maybe he shouldn't be participating in this event, but she just tells him not to worry, that she just received his information and he's been admitted. Congratulations, he's a new hire. The poor guy stands there, completely baffled by what this crazy woman is talking about. She continues with her script, saying that everyone here should already be familiar with the special employees of this place. Their job is to protect lives. First and foremost, they are not allowed to tell their family, relatives, or anyone close to them that they work here. If this information leaks, they will be punished for violating national security laws. Maru thinks to himself that this is an extremely serious statement. Yu Young then says that everyone here must have received new demon abilities this month. When a demon's blood enters your bloodstream, there's a small chance of gaining an ability. Right away, Maru realizes that this must have happened when he bit the monster's neck. She continues, saying that their lucky demons currently only inhabit the mountains. The yellow dust is the first sign that a demon is about to appear. Its concentration ranges from 1 to 10. Obviously, the more dust, the stronger the creature. She then calls for Xianwu, who raises his hand. She remarks that since he received the ability from a level 7 creature, she's looking forward to seeing his potential. The handsome guy responds confidently, saying he'll do his best and she doesn't need to worry. Then Yu Young shifts her attention to Maru. She mentions that he received an ability from a level 1 demon and asks what it is. Still disoriented, he admits that he has no idea what his ability is yet. Immediately, some smug bastard nearby starts laughing. That guy deserves a bite on the neck. Or maybe not. Something tells me that would be peculiar. Better let it slide. Maru feels annoyed but decides to ignore it. After all, his priority is to get out of this place as soon as possible. Suddenly, a loud alarm blares in the room. Yu Young says it's perfect timing. This is the warning that a demon has appeared. The very next moment, they're climbing the mountain. She announces that it's time for the practical test, the perfect opportunity for them to test their new abilities. Of course, the one questioning why the hell he's even here is our dear Maru. What he really wants is to get out of here before things get dangerous. But just as he's thinking once again about safety, he encounters the damned yellow dust. His expression says it all. He's scared shitless. Then through the thick fog, he sees the silhouette of a woman. It's the mummy-armed girl and he wonders if she's okay. At that moment, she turns around and Maru is startled. She had impaled a 3-meter-tall creature with a stake. Maru stumbles to the ground in shock while everyone else looks on in awe. Yu Young tells them all to pay attention because the practical test has begun. The creature in front of them looks strong, but it's just a rank 1 demon, the weakest there is. Captain Kang had already pinned it against the wall, so no one needed to worry. Kang, however, was more interested in the kid with the dumbstruck face, the one who somehow killed a demon all by himself yesterday. She was curious about the potential of someone who gained powers at the exact moment they faced a creature, since that was extremely rare. Yu Young, on the other hand, was excited. She ordered everyone to start using their abilities. But our boy was just standing there in the cold, staring at that massive creature, thinking that this woman had lost her mind. How was he supposed to fight something like that? A panic attack surged back, his chest tightened, and breathing became difficult. In the blink of an eye, he found himself standing on top of a red river. A creature with black limbs approached. It seemed to be some kind of woman-dog hybrid, covered in shaggy hair. Ugly as hell. He was just standing there, suffering quietly, when the monster nearly placed its hand on his head. The creature grasped his entire skull, shifted to the side, and told him to eat. So the bastard's got a Naruto QB situation going on in his head. But on the outside, he was giving off serious Tokyo Ghoul vibes. Because while everyone else was tense, he was practically drooling, saying he wanted to eat. And not just a little drool, no, this was some high-quality illustrated saliva. Someone touched his shoulder, startling him. It was Shanwoo, asking if he was laughing out of sheer terror. Honest as ever, Maru responded that no, he was just starving. Man, I already want to punch this damn Shanwoo for thinking Maru is pathetic for being hungry at a time like this. Now that I know our boy is Tokyo Ghoul, maybe he really does deserve a bite. Maru calmed himself down, wondering what the hell that was and why he was so hungry. At the top of the mountain, Yu Young called for everyone's attention. Before they could use their abilities, she needed to explain the basics. She clarified that the very existence of the yellow mist was due to the demons. Obviously, the stronger the demon, the more mist it produced. She then pulled out a knife and said that wasn't all. Making a small cut on her hand, she explained that those who had received demon powers also had enhanced regeneration when inside the mist. However, a fatal wound would still kill them, so they needed to be careful. Additionally, their powers only activated within the mist while fighting creatures. Outside of it, they were nothing more than ordinary people. Seunwoo, the most humble man in Korea, yawned and asked how long she was going to keep talking. The most important part should have been mentioned first, how to activate the power. He then said he'd give it a try. Biting his own lip, blood started to flow and the yellow mist drifted toward him. Something within him seemed to activate. He felt his strength increasing and his eyes turned golden. The secret was to let the mist enter his bloodstream. He put on a glove and declared that it was time to begin. Suddenly, the stake that had been lodged in the monster's head exploded. Kang shouted for everyone to be careful as the yellow mist began surrounding them. Now free, the monster started moving, letting out a roar in their direction before slamming the ground. The poor newbies who had just started this job were already terrified. Kang moved to intervene, but Yu Young ordered her to stay put. Kang insisted that this was too much for beginners. But Yu Young still refused, saying that this was the perfect time for practice. If they couldn't handle a level 1 creature, they would just die anyway. The monster suddenly sniffed the air and locked eyes directly on Maru, who was standing there, scared stiff. He immediately wondered why this damn thing was looking at him. Then, out of nowhere, the monster's hand opened and a knife shot out, flying straight at Maru. Damn thing was fast. Maru took a hit to the arm, collapsing to the ground in agony. Kang felt sorry for him as he writhed in pain. He got back up, arm throbbing, but the monster was already closing in, ready to crush him. The beast landed right beside him, creeping closer. The two locked eyes as it reached out. But suddenly, something burst out of the ground. A monstrous centipede wrapped itself around the creature. It was choking the beast, staring it down. Turns out, this was Seunwoo's ability, the demon centipede. For someone who loves being handsome, his power was ugly as hell. Then the female student attacked from behind, slicing the monster's head. Her ability was from the Rojo demon, whatever that was. What I do know is that the monster just lost half its brain and was now screaming toward the sky, spreading more mist. The girl smirked, saying at least they had won. But then the yellow mist swirled back into the monster's head, restoring it completely. Now the idiots realized that the creature's regeneration was also insanely powerful. The monster grabbed the centipede and yanked it from Seunwoo's neck. Since it was connected to his arm, the creature used it like a whip, flinging Seunwoo into the girl. Then it pulled Seunwoo back in, squeezing him tight. This thing was petty. Opening its massive mouth, it prepared to take a bite, when suddenly, something snapped inside a glove. The monster's neck twisted violently, and it let go of Seunwoo. Now it made sense. Seunwoo wasn't just some flashy dude. The bastard was stylish. He had the ability of the temple demon. Apparently, when he broke his own bones, he could break the monster's too. The creature lunged at him, but Seunwoo took off his glove and shattered his own wrist, telling it to die. With that, the monster's entire neck twisted and exploded. Its body collapsed to the ground, leaving its head at his feet like a soccer ball. Seunwoo explained that once a demon's head was severed, it could no longer emit or absorb mist. So that was it. The rest of the trainees were left stunned. He commented that it was a good chance to test something new. But then Kang appeared behind him and asked if he intentionally broke her stake to wake up the demon. The kid had villain potential. He simply denied it. No, of course not. Where was the proof? But she grabbed his arm and said they could find out real quick, by breaking his fingers to see if her weapon shattered again. With that, Yidong clapped her hands, cutting in and praising Seunwoo for doing well on his first try. However, someone was missing. Our boy had bolted out of there. He wanted no part in this, working a job like this. No way. He wanted a peaceful, ordinary life, not one where he had to fight demons with cursed powers. But someone needed to tell him that he was the protagonist of this story, so he wouldn't be escaping the action anytime soon. Yu Young shook her head, saying that someone who ran away like that wasn't qualified to be a special agent. Meanwhile, Kang was still trying to process what she had seen earlier. There were countless targets in that area, yet the creature had clearly chosen to go after him. Yu Young immediately ordered them to find him and check if he was still alive. But then Kang was the only one who noticed the obvious. Why hadn't the yellow mist disappeared if the leader was dead? Now everyone else started wondering the same thing. Meanwhile, Maru stood in front of a gate that was exuding an insane amount of mist. He wondered why it was there. At that very moment, a new monster appeared. The thing was huge, at least 15 meters tall, and Maru immediately ducked behind a bush. Why him again? Of all people, Why did he, the one most desperate to escape, have to run into something like this? He took another peek to see if it had vanished, but nope. The monster was right behind him. Just then, the TikToker with the dyed hair called for Kang Chana. Yeah, that's her name, folks. She asked what was going on, and he said he had received an alert from headquarters. A level 3 demon had been detected in the area. Yuyan found it odd. Demons didn't usually show up one after another like this. Kang wanted to know where, and well, we could already guess, couldn't we? Our boy was running for his life through the restricted area, skidding across the ground, shouting for help, until he tripped over a rock and face planted. He got up and spotted that same house, his father's house. At least he knew this place and where to hide. He dashed to a house with an iron door and slipped behind it, panting, wondering what the hell that thing was. He peeked through a gap, reassuring himself that there was no way the monster would follow him this far. Of course, it was right there. Why the hell was this thing so obsessed with him? Not to mention he had no idea what those things floating around its head were. Just then, he heard the sound of the gate opening. An old man stepped inside, calling out for someone and wondering why there was so much yellow mist in the air. The old guy's cataracts were bad. He couldn't even see the 15-meter-tall monster standing right in front of him. Meanwhile, the creature was grinning, ready to devour him. Maru knew he had to do something to save this old man before he got killed. The problem? He wasn't strong enough. How was he supposed to pull this off? That's when he remembered what Yu Young had explained. Those who had received demon abilities could regenerate wounds while inside the mist. However, a fatal wound would still be enough to kill him. His hands trembled. He knew he might die. Maybe he should just stay hidden and save himself instead of throwing his life away for some stranger. The old man squinted into the distance, asking if that was Changsek's mother. Even the monster seemed confused, repeating her words. The old woman took a step forward, scolding it for mimicking her. Then she froze. Now that was close. Her eyesight might have been bad, but this close-up, her cataracts weren't a problem anymore. She could see the massive creature standing right in front of her. Terrified, she stumbled back, struggling to comprehend what she was looking at. Meanwhile, the monster just kept repeating her words. It raised a single finger and Spikes took aim. Then, it attacked. Blood splattered. And I haven't bet $1 million that Maru had thrown himself in front of it and taken the hit. Sure enough, as the old woman slowly opened her eyes, she found the boy bleeding out in her lap. He weakly asked if she was okay. She said yes, but he collapsed onto her, missing an arm, impaled all over. Man, this kid suffers. Struggling to stay conscious, he told the old lady to run, while wondering why he had been cursed with a level 1 ability. His power was as useless as the resumes he sent to companies. In the end, he was going to die, and he wouldn't even be able to save the old woman. All he wanted was for someone stronger to show up and save him for once. As he lay there waiting for help, the yellow mist began seeping into his arm. Veins started surfacing on his neck. And here came the telltale cultural artwork drool. Then, in a sudden burst, he lunged straight at the monster, to bite it. Meanwhile, Kang was sprinting through the forest. She heard a scream behind her and turned. She burst through the gate, only to witness something insane. Maru was feasting on the monster's neck. Horrified, she couldn't comprehend what this rookie was doing. The creature grabbed Maru by the head and slammed him against the wall. He was barely conscious, but it looked like he had swallowed the chunk he bit off. The monster, on the other hand, was furious. The little bastard had taken a bite out of him. As the monster tried to flee, Kang noticed something. The part that Maru had bitten wasn't regenerating. She didn't understand why, but this wasn't the time to worry about that. She charged at the monster, leaping high and grabbing one of its crystals. With that, she activated her Steel Demon ability, transforming the crystal into a sword. The monster roared, hurling spikes at her. She turned just in time, and reflected them all with the blade. The creature was forced to defend itself against its own attack. But now, she was right in front of it, deadly, beautiful. With a precise vertical slash, the creature was split in half, and with that, it crumbled into dust. The battle was finally over. Blood rained over the scene, drenching the area in red. She approached the old woman, asking if she was okay. The woman seemed to have fainted. Moments later, she suddenly woke up, confused. Kang, now completely clean, probably because the blood had turned to dust, casually reassured her, saying that a wild boar had passed through. That was all. The old woman muttered that boars often passed by around here. Kang assured her not to worry. She would handle the problem. The woman thanked her for her hard work and returned home. Kang's expression changed immediately. She turned toward Maru, determined to find out what this kid was. She had never heard of someone with a level 1 ability regenerating an entire arm out of nowhere. In theory, his ability should have been weak. Cut to our boy screaming in frustration. He had just received a message saying he would be starting work tomorrow. But after remembering that spiked monster that nearly killed him, he had zero interest in showing up for that job. Maru collapsed onto his bed, muttering that there was no way he was going to that job. But on the other hand, he really did need work. Desperate for a job or not, he was too exhausted to think, so he decided to just sleep. However, if there was one thing this guy never got, it was a moment of peace. As always, he was dreaming about that war where the red monsters devoured and slaughtered each other. A voice called out, telling him to come back. Suddenly, he woke up in a cold sweat, panting, staring at his hands, unable to make sense of what he had just experienced. Morning had already arrived. He glanced outside, only to see that the entire mountain was on fire. Amidst the burning trees and bushes, a creature made of ashes was walking, setting everything ablaze. Then a soaking wet girl appeared, throwing water at it. To be honest, those little splashes weren't going to do much. But she wasn't alone. Another person arrived and launched an ice attack. The monster's leg froze solid, turning it into an oversized popsicle. The girl called for the leader, noting how strange it was. Creatures like this weren't supposed to appear at night. But the guy told her not to worry about that yet. First, they had to stop the fire from spreading. The monster was beginning to melt the ice. He pulled out 2 swords, saying he would take care of it. He charged toward the creature. But right at that moment, something emerged from his forehead. A sinister eye opened, issuing a command. Bring that person. Instantly, the monster broke free. The captain and the creature closed in on each other. One prepared to slash, the other about to throw a punch. At the very least, the guy managed to block, but even then, he was sent flying into a tree, crashing hard against it. He was wrecked. The soaking wet girl called for the leader, panicked. But the creature hunched down and a cauldron formed on its back. Lava began to spill out, and the captain realized that the monster was getting bigger and stronger. Meanwhile, at headquarters in Seoul, the monitors were flashing red, blaring emergency alerts. Yu Young demanded a status report. With all these warning signals, it was obvious things were going south fast. A staff member reported that 20 mountains were under attack simultaneously. The way these creatures were appearing had suddenly changed. This had only started happening this week, but no one knew why. One of the staff members interrupted, saying they were getting an urgent call from Busan. Yu Young answered, asking what the issue was. Anne was immediately greeted with, "Hey, big sis." The caller was Ba Myong-sik, director of the Busan division. He wanted to know when she was planning to visit his city. She sighed, greeted him, then told him to get to the point. That's when he explained what was happening. There had been a portal open for 3 days straight. Yu Young was stunned. How was that even possible? Reachers just kept pouring out. The team in charge of the area was exhausted, fighting non-stop with no end in sight. Yu Young asked why the portal wasn't closing had they identified the cause. Myong-sik said that the monster they were dealing with just kept repeating the same thing over and over. They even sent a girl with interpreter abilities to figure it out. The monster's message: bring that person. As the creature continued rampaging, Yu Young asked who exactly this person was. Myong-sik admitted that was the problem. They had no idea. He didn't know who it was, but whoever it was needed to show up fast. Yu Young then made a call to someone in a helicopter. The guy picked up, asking what the problem was. She quickly explained the situation on the mountain. Without hesitation, the guy stepped to the edge of the helicopter and simply said, "I'm on my way." He told her he'd call back once he had handled things. And with that, he leaped, plunging through the air like a shooting star. On his way down, he passed through a wave of yellow mist. This guy had zero fear. Then, all of a sudden, he activated spatial inversion, suspending himself midair. He landed gracefully on top of the gate. The people below were shocked. Who was this lunatic who just dropped in out of nowhere? One of the women yelled for him to get down. It was dangerous. Meanwhile, the red-hooded demon grinned, seemingly pleased by his arrival. It lunged at the woman, aiming for a piercing kick. She barely managed to dodge. The problem was, now the monster was right above her. She had no way to escape. But then, the newcomer reached into thin air, opened his spatial tear, and ripped out the monster's entire spinal column. The creature froze in shock. He casually congratulated everyone for their hard work, saying they could rest now. From here on out, he would handle things. The captain was thrilled, but the girl wanted to know, who was this guy? The captain explained. This was the first ever special ability user, the founder of the task force. The guy stretched, placed a hand on the ground, and said, "Let's get this over with." He was the strongest demon ability user, Director Jong Il-do. Purple lines spread across the ground, reaching toward the mist. They rose, higher, higher, until they towered above the moon itself. From afar, everyone saw it, wondering what the hell that thing was. The guy with glasses admitted he had never seen this in person before. But in theory, this was the most powerful spatial ability in existence. Jong was carving a path straight into the yellow mist. Meanwhile, back on the burning mountain, the magma monster had grown even larger, and the ice water duo couldn't hold out any longer. The girl had collapsed. The guy called for her to get up, or they were both going to die. The lava beast charged again. The ice user desperately raised a barrier, but the monster smashed through it, sending him flying. It kept attacking, hammering at him repeatedly, until the shield shattered. He crashed to the ground, gasping for breath. He knew this was it. This was how he was going to die. But then, a rift appeared behind the monster. John yanked the beast's head through it, hurling the entire thing away. The explosion sent crows scattering through the sky. Jung declared that it was time to take care of this monster. Not just this one, but all of them. He activated every single rift unit. Across Gangwon province, a boy was being trampled by a monster. The creature spoke something in a strange tongue, then stabbed him in the chest. But at that moment, a rift opened behind it, and the beast was dragged inside. Across all the mountains under attack, the same thing started happening. The monsters were being pulled into the same place. On the one hand, this was good. Now they were all concentrated. On the other hand, this was extremely dangerous. One of the staff members noted that the danger signals were disappearing, and the director calmly stated that this just meant he had arrived safely. The good news? Jung's plan worked, and now all the monsters were in one place. The bad news? Jung's plan worked, and now all the monsters were in one place. But Jung was thrilled. Now it was time to begin. The demon screeched and charged toward him, but even surrounded, he simply pointed at one and tore open a spatial rift. Then, with the grace of a ballet dancer, he executed a Michael Jackson spin, slicing in every direction at once. Demon heads flew into the air while the rest of the squad watched in disbelief. They had never seen someone this powerful before. Jung then approached the magma creature and called for the translator. He told her to handle this. Then he asked the monster why all of them had suddenly become so agitated this week. The translator relayed the answer. Bring that person. Jung frowned. He asked, who is this person? The monster simply repeated the question. The translator reported that the creature was just copying what Jung had said. Without hesitation, Jung slammed the monster into the ground. If that's the case, he said, then we'll just keep killing them until they stop coming. Now drenched in blood, he turned his attention to the gate. Once again, he placed his hand on the ground and opened a spatial void beneath it. The entire area was absorbed. Honestly, that was an efficient way to handle things. One of the squad members in the background sighed in relief, saying she felt safer knowing they had someone like Jung to rely on. In a single moment, he deactivated his power, and the gate was gone. The next day, back at headquarters, Yu Young entered the office and immediately asked Jung what he had done with the portal. He casually explained that it was inside his black void and that he was exhausted from the effort. But the insufferable woman just told him he should handle everything as he always did. Jung groaned, saying that he had limits too. It wasn't like he could run the entire organization by himself. He turned on the TV, saying that he understood, but he had already gathered the information she asked for. The screen displayed photos of all the new recruits. Yu Young wanted to know why he was so interested in them. He explained that he was trying to understand what the demons wanted. Not only that, he wanted to figure out why the demons wanted him. Amidst the endless pile of monstrous bodies, there was a single gigantic woman's corpse. That same green eye was watching, still repeating its message, bring him. Meanwhile, Maru's first day on the job, Maru arrived at work. His mother had cried when she found out he got a government job. He couldn't give her any details, but she was so happy that he simply couldn't refuse. The moment he arrived, he was immediately greeted by a Hawaiian shirt guy who bluntly asked why the hell he came back. The guy shook his head, saying he didn't want a coward on his team. Maru only smelled the reek of alcohol. The actual boss greeted them, and Seonwoo, still fuming, immediately said he didn't want to be here. He wanted to be transferred to the main city, but the leader just shrugged, saying he had no idea why a level 7 had been sent to this place either. Clearly, there was some kind of issue with him. Either way, both of them were welcome to Gangwa's team. Maru wondered what exactly he'd be doing here when there weren't demons to hunt. As soon as the leader opened the door, Maru saw everyone in the office killing zombies and dissecting creatures. But then, reality hit. It was just an ordinary office like any other. The guy in the Hawaiian shirt introduced himself as Go Deokman, the team leader. The girl with glasses was Yoon Ji-won, who had 7 years of experience. The plant guy, who had also been here for 7 years, was Kim Yebak. And the TikToker. We already knew him, Yoseok. He had 1 year of experience. Go Deokman told them to get along and to sit wherever. Maru, sweating, found a seat. He wondered if everyone had been this stressed on their first day. Nervous, he greeted his new coworkers, trying to make a good impression. But then, Seonwoo, sitting directly across from him, glared and told him to stop looking at him. Poor Maru was crushed. Seonwoo, meanwhile, was pissed that he had been sent to this isolated place. So Maru turned his attention to Yoseok, who was busy browsing designer brands online. He asked what exactly their job was. Yoseok casually pointed around, explaining that they were a special unit that dealt with the yellow dust. There were 13 divisions spread throughout Seoul, and those ranked level 7 or higher were assigned to special missions. As for their island, it was mostly for incompetent people, or for those who were just plain weird. Maru immediately related that explained why he was here. But still, something about this place felt off. Yoseok added that some capable people volunteered for this job. At that moment, both of them turned their heads, and damn, that girl trained hard. Maru, feeling awkward, straightened up, but she stared right at him. Ji-won told her she should go home after her shift at the station, but she just sat down, saying she had no reason to go home anyway. Kang Chana watched all of this unfold, quietly observing the fact that Maru had ended up here. Something strange had happened. She had woken up with no memory of the previous day. Meanwhile, Maru was shocked to learn that he would be getting hazard pay. The salary was good, but the fact that hazard pay existed made it very clear that his life was constantly in danger. Then, Yoseok mentioned that it was 5 times the normal salary. Maru's expression completely changed. That was a lot of money. Yoseok, annoyed, told him to stop bothering him. He was busy. Maru, meanwhile, was just wondering what the hell he was supposed to do in this place. Time passed. He was getting used to things. He never imagined he'd land such an easy job that paid so much. Then Go Deokman stretched, announcing that the workday was over. He approached the 2 newbies, asking if they had any difficulties or questions. Seonwoo simply said no. Maru, however, had one question. He wanted to know where demons actually came from and why they existed. Go Deokman just shrugged. Nobody knew. Xiaomu added that most people believed they came from above. Maru realized that nobody knew where these creatures came from, but nobody seemed to care either. Humanity was doomed. It was frustrating, but somehow, these people were doing their jobs no matter how bizarre things were. Back at headquarters, Yu Young rode the elevator down. She found Zhang standing in front of a golden capsule. He asked her what she thought. She glanced at some reports commenting that the monster appearances seemed to have stabilized. Zhang, however, continued staring at the swirling yellow mist, wondering what had caused this sudden surge of creatures. Yudong suggested that maybe they were getting closer to the truth. Zhang wasn't so sure. He was staring at fallen angel bound and suspended upside down with white hair and murmured that he wasn't convinced. Zhang wanted all the leaders to stay on high alert for now. If the rest of the organization found out about these details, it would cause absolute chaos. The scene then shifted to Maru, who was asking what they were talking about. The others were grilling some barbecue, casually explaining that this was exactly why they had to celebrate as much as possible. Yudong mentioned that because of this prophecy, they tried to enjoy life every day. Confused, Maru asked them to actually explain what was going on. Hudapin finally answered. There was a prophecy that in 1 year, demons would start raining from the sky. Countless portals would open all over the world and the earth would be drenched in blood. Maru immediately thought that sounded insanely terrifying. Godapman told him to keep that information secret. It was a very classified secret. Meanwhile, Yudong encouraged everyone to drink until they vomited. Yoseok wanted to go home, and Kang Chana warned them to be careful since they had work tomorrow. Apparently, Seonwoo's biggest weakness was alcohol. He was already wasted and passed out. Maru, however, kept telling everyone to stop drinking while wondering why no one seemed to be scared about this apocalypse prophecy. At that exact moment, a golden light shone above a mountain. A gate opened in the sky. Yellow dust began pouring out. Countless hands emerged from within. The moment the first bald-headed monster began appearing, everyone's phones blared with an emergency alert. Young sighed, disappointed, complaining that nighttime disasters were annoying because she just wanted some time to relax. Meanwhile, Kang Chana stood up, saying she'd be back soon. Seonwoo immediately said he was going with her, but she refused, saying that she wanted to take Han Maru with her. Maru wanted nothing to do with this, yet here he was, forehead pressed against the car window, wondering how he had ended up in this mess. Kang then called his name, reassuring him that he didn't need to worry so much about the prophecy. Maru replied that this wasn't something to be taken lightly, but she confidently said she was sure that the people at the top were already making the necessary preparations. He might not know it, but countless powerful individuals worked in this organization. Right now, all they had to focus on was locating the demons and killing them. Maru was terrified, but he was also absolutely smitten by how cool she was. She then mentioned that he seemed to have a special kind of ability, and she was excited to see what he could do. Maru was thrilled for the first time someone actually expected something from him. Then she casually remarked, "I've never seen someone eat like you before." She wondered if it was some kind of gluttony demon ability. Maru had no idea what she was talking about. She explained that it literally seemed like he had the power to eat demons. He hated the sound of that. But then, the scene cut to a monster being impaled. Kang had easily pinned the thing down and turned to him. "You're really gonna make me say it? Eat it." Beaming, she explained that his ability seemed to prevent regeneration, so she wanted to see it in action. It was time for him to take a bite. Maru hesitated, ripping the monster's tentacle. At this point, he figured he might as well do his job. The creature was disgusting, but he told himself to just think of it as eating octopus at a restaurant. He leaned in, teeth bared, but barely nibbled. Kang scolded him, telling him to actually put some effort into it. He needed to bite like he meant it. Maru sighed, said he understood, and reluctantly started chewing. The next day, back at the office, Maru was dying. His entire body ached. Seonwoo immediately smirked and said he heard that Maru threw up yesterday. What an idiot. Maru didn't even care. He just asked Seonwoo what exactly he expected from him. Seonwoo scoffed. Someone like him should have never been sent here. They should assign someone actually useful. He should be grateful that Commander Kang had even the slightest interest in his ability. Then he walked off, flat out calling Maru useless trash. Maru was completely roasted, but to be fair, the guy had a point. He needed to wake up and start trying harder. That was when the alarm rang. Kang stood up, about to call his name. But Maru was in the bathroom, hands on his face, trying to figure out how he was going to get used to eating monsters. He had an ability, which was good, but his ability was to eat monsters, which was not good. As he walked down the hallway, he suddenly ran into Kang. Aunt nearly had a heart attack. His soul practically left his body. She raised an eyebrow and asked if he had been hiding in the bathroom. Maru admitted that yes, he had heard the alarm, but he got food poisoning after biting that creature. Kang sighed, lowering her head. "So you're really not suited for this job," she muttered. She explained that he didn't have to work for the government just because he had a special power. There was another option. He could just sign a contract stating that he wouldn't talk about this to anyone. Then he could live his life under constant surveillance for the rest of his days. Maru was shocked. He thought the alternative would be a little easier than that. Kang added that this was better than dying on the battlefield. People with his level of mental fortitude usually didn't last very long. The way he was acting, he could easily be sent on a mission to save someone and end up letting them die because of a mistake. If he really couldn't do this, he needed to leave the job now. Kang leaned in real close and said, "We don't need people who are useless." Damn, poor Maru. He got roasted everywhere he went. Meanwhile, at the office, Kang figured that Maru had probably given up. You'd think this was the start of his motivation arc. But no, he was standing on a bridge, actually happy for once. Maybe he really wasn't cut out for this. Maybe living under surveillance was better than dying in battle. Poor guy had no idea he was the protagonist of this story, meaning escape was impossible. Right at that moment, his phone rang. It was his mother. He picked up, already thinking about how he didn't want to keep fighting monsters. He answered with a, "Hey, what are you up to?" She told him she was on a hiking trip to Inwang Mountain. Maru froze. Then he put a hand over his face and groaned. Hadn't he already told her to stop climbing mountains? But then, the call quality suddenly worsened. His mother paused, confused, asking why there was so much yellow dust in the air. Instantly, his heart dropped. The call cut off. Oh hell no. Now the motivation arc was kicking in. Inwang Mountain, the security team. The security team was already on site, preparing to deal with a demon. The guards stood frozen, unsure of what to do. One of them glanced up and saw a creature perched in a tree, gnawing on a human arm. A crystal gleamed on its forehead. It smiled at them. Meanwhile, Maru was sprinting toward the mountain. Seconds later, everyone on the security team was already dead. The level 5 demon was devouring the new recruits, and no one was left to stop it. But then, a heavyset woman, the regional leader, arrived. She activated her duplication ability and told the survivors to call for backup while she stalled the monster. One of them ran to use the landline. Since phones didn't work in this area, it was their only option. Back at headquarters, Yu Young received the emergency request and immediately started coordinating the response. She explained that civilians were in immediate danger. If that level 5 demon made it down to the city, it would be a massacre. They were running out of time. Everyone needed to move now. Meanwhile, Maru arrives. But guess who was already there? Maru. He jumped out of a taxi, sprinting full speed toward the entrance. He reached the hiking tour group and frantically looked around for his mother. Not seeing her, he asked one of the guides to let him through. His mother was inside. The guide refused, saying it was too dangerous. There were wild animals in the area. Wild animals, my ass. Maru knew the truth. It wasn't animals, it was demons. While the guards were busy securing the main entrance, he was already climbing the mountain from the other side. It was the fastest road up. As he climbed, he prayed that his mother was safe. Deep in the mist, amidst the thick yellow mist, someone was struggling with a twisted ankle. It was Giga Chad Mom. She casually bent down, told the injured woman to climb on her back, and carried her. Then, she paused, noticing something moving in the fog. "What is that?" she muttered. A hand reached for her. Maru arrived, panicked. His mother turned in shock. "How the hell did you find me?" He explained that he had seen her social media post. She wanted to ask about his new government job, but he brushed it off. Not important right now. The other woman smiled, saying, "Oh, so this is the son you were talking about? I'm so happy for you. A government job is a big deal." Maru's mother beamed. "Yes, now all I have to do is find him a wife, but he's not very popular with girls." Maru sighed. "Can we focus here? We need to leave, now." Then, he felt something. The demon was right above him. He looked up and locked eyes with it. Instantly, his panic attack hit. His breathing staggered. He couldn't move. Every time he saw a demon, this happened. How the hell was he supposed to protect his mother like this? The attack. From below, the injured woman noticed something was wrong. "Hey, that boy looks weird." Maru's mother suddenly screamed his name. The demon turned and leaped at her. She reached out for her son, just as the demon lunged to grab her. Maru dove forward, but tripped, tumbling down the slope like an idiot. Too late. The demon was about to bite down on his mother. Maru screamed. But then, a surprise attack. The demon collapsed, its back bleeding. Maru, confused, stared at the creature. Where did those knives in its back come from? His mother freaked out. What the hell is that? Then she noticed something on her son's head. Maru looked up and realized the knives were his. Oh shit. He had absorbed the power of a demon he had eaten. He suddenly remembered. One of the creatures he fought had this exact ability. Then he felt something weird in his back, and another knife formed. Holy shit, he could control it. That meant his power wasn't just stopping regeneration. He could steal abilities. He smirked. Alright, let's see what this power can do. The demon was already down, crawling away. It was weaker than he expected. That was weird. Why was everyone on the mountain struggling against something this weak? Meanwhile, a different part of the mountain, a wounded soldier was slumped against the fence. 2 agents from headquarters approached him. "Are you alright?" Shaking, the man stammered. "The demon, it was terrifying. It destroyed my team." One of the agents rubbed his chin, doubtful. "That's hard to believe. The leader of this region is a level 7 user." Another agent, slicked back hair, asked, "What ability did the level 5 demon have?" The soldier answered, "It had the mirror ability." Maru's real problem. At that moment, something shimmered on the demon's back. Maru's eyes widened. The attack he just used had been copied. Before he could react, the demon attacked. Its crystals impaled him all over his body. But Maru wasn't panicking. He was just shocked. "That bastard copied me." The demon slowly advanced, its forehead gleaming like a mirror. Maru immediately realized this was a reflection-based ability. The monster mimicked his movements. If he attacked, it would strike back the exact same way. Then behind him, his mother cried out in pain. He turned. Her knee was bleeding. She was worried about his injuries, but he only cared about her ability to heal. He lifted his shirt to show his wounds. "Don't worry, I'm fine." His abs were chiseled. Giga Chad DNA activated. Now he knew. If he wanted to protect his mother, he had to kill this thing. He turned to her. "Hide. I'll take care of this." His mother looked scared, but he turned around and spoke firmly. He was a public servant who protected civilians. He would take care of this in a second and be right back. He launched himself at the monster, grabbed it by the waist, and hurled it off the mountaintop, taking it down with him. His mother screamed as crows scattered into the sky. Maru managed to land on a higher ledge while the creature tumbled down below. He got up, body aching, regenerating little by little. For now, his priority was to keep the demon as far from his mother as possible. If he bought enough time, the mountain team would arrive to handle the situation and everything would turn out fine. But the two agents who had just arrived from headquarters ran into something much worse. It wasn't just a single level 5 creature. There were many invading. A horde of monsters stood there staring while one of the agents looked around, trying to understand why they all looked so similar. The bald agent muttered that the mountain leader had a duplication ability, meaning she had been copied. He knew he had to destroy the original body. The problem was figuring out which one it was. The other agent, completely unfazed, just grinned and said it didn't matter. He just needed to kill all of them. He lunged forward and punched the ground, creating a shockwave that sent the creatures flying. The bald agent sighed, thinking his partner was truly an idiot. But he was sure of one thing. Based on how the clones were fighting, the original wasn't here. There was obviously the one absorbing yellow dust just below Maru. Maru realized that this damn thing was regenerating as fast as he was. The problem was, he was starting to get exhausted from having to heal constantly. Then a voice spoke. "What's wrong, Maru?" His stomach dropped. The demon had copied his mother's voice. Maru snapped. "Don't do that." He yelled and threw knives at it. But his aim was terrible. He muttered that controlling someone else's ability wasn't as easy as it seemed. Meanwhile, the creature calmly formed a crystal and launched it straight into his shoulder. That just pissed him off even more. This time, he unleashed an entire barrage of knives. One direct hit to the monster's shoulder. Maru cheered. But then, the creature grunted, shook its body, and instantly regenerated. Maru's heart sank. They had the same attack ability, but the monster's recovery speed was even worse than his. That meant it was weaker than him. Then he remembered something important. Obviously, it was a conversation with Kang Chana. She had told him before, "I have the feeling you never actually listened to what I say." Lying on the ground, bleeding, Maru muttered that maybe he wasn't made for this. But she had reached out her hand, helped him up, and said, "You're just scared of getting hurt." He had to understand that wounds healed inside the yellow mist, so it didn't matter. The pain was real, yes, but that was just part of it. Plus, he had to eat those damn demons to recover. She had been crushing his hand as she spoke, and he had asked if there was a better way to fight. Kang had thought for a moment before responding. To kill a monster like this, you had to cut off its head and stop it from absorbing yellow dust. Since he lacked an offensive ability, he could only act as support. But on the other hand, he had the best regeneration ability. That meant he shouldn't be afraid to fight monsters head-on. Back in the present, Maru grinned. If his ability was the best, then he wasn't going to be scared anymore. Besides, thanks to gluttony, he had more than enough strength to kill this thing. The problem? He still couldn't aim properly. Landing a precise hit on the neck would be difficult. Meanwhile, the monster kept mocking him in his mother's voice. "What's wrong, Maru?" At that moment, Maru made a decision. If he couldn't aim, then there was only one solution. He threw another crystal at the demon. It dodged. But when it looked up again, Maru was already midair, charging toward it. The creature had no time to react. It unleashed yellow mist, trying to block him. But it bit down on his knife, stopping the attack. Then it grabbed him by the throat. The monster got close to his face and asked, "Why do you fight like this?" It pressed against a rock, then flung them both to the mountaintop, slamming him into the ground. Maru couldn't breathe. He couldn't activate gluttony, but you have it bite this thing. The problem? The demon wasn't close enough. Then, it bit his neck first. Maru couldn't bite back, so he ripped a knife from his back and stabbed the creature aside. Blood poured from his wound. He tried to stop the bleeding, but the monster just stared at him. Then, dizziness hit him. His vision blurred. His wound wasn't healing. Had the monkey copied his ability to block regeneration? Looking at the pool of blood, he had no idea how much time he had left. If he failed here, what would happen? Then, he remembered another moment. Another conversation with Kang Chana. She had sighed and asked, "How many times are you gonna pass out?" He had explained. It was a panic attack. He couldn't control it. His chest tightened, his mind went blank, and all he felt was the certainty of death. Her response? "That's exactly why you need to get over it. At this rate, the next time you think you're gonna die, you actually will. You're the last line of defense for civilians. If you're weak, they die." In the present, Giga Chad Mom was wandering nearby, calling out for him. Maru was somehow still alive, gripping his bleeding neck. But his face looked awful. He picked up a crystal. The monkey copied him. Maru remembered Kang's words. Even if he did, he had to take this monster down with him. He bit down on his lip, furious. Then he screamed and ran straight at the demon. The monster crouched, dodging, and stabbed his ribs. But Maru had thrown his dagger upward. The creature asked, "What are you trying to do?" Maru grabbed it and roared. Every crystal he had thrown so far flew toward them both. The monster froze and got hit by all of them. Actually, they both did. But at least, the last knife he had thrown from above came down and cleanly severed the creature's head. Its limbs detached. Its body collapsed. Maru, shaking, stumbled backward and fell. At headquarters, the agents saw the monster disintegrate and wondered if they had killed the original. The bald one said no. Someone had killed it elsewhere. Back on the mountain, Maru's wounds slowly healed. But this time, he really thought he had almost died. Then he got up, intending to find his mother. But his father's voice whispered behind him, "Eat." His father pointed at the monster's remains. "Go back and eat it." Maru finally understood. That crazy old man had known all along. The monster had a rare and powerful ability. If he ate it, he might gain another power. And he remembered Go-Dukman's prophecy. In 1 year, creatures would rain from the sky. Motivated by the desire to become strong enough to protect his mother, he approached the demon and grabbed its arm. With that, he began his daily meal. Not fully confident and looking sharp, he declared that from this day forward, he would eat any strong demon he encountered. The guy even licked his lips. Sometime later, his mother woke up in the hospital, asking if she had really passed out on the mountain. But she didn't seem too concerned, just saying that she didn't really remember much. Maru was relieved she didn't remember. In theory, she should have, considering the monster had been right in front of her. Still, he showed her a news report about everything that had happened on the mountain and told her to stay out of dangerous situations from now on. His mother then mentioned that she had heard rumors about someone who looked like his father being seen on the mountain, which was why she had gone to check it out. That was when Maru started connecting the dots. His father had also disappeared on a mountain. Maybe it had something to do with the demons. A memory surfaced. He was in the forest, looking up, face pale with terror, blood dripping from his mouth, barely clinging to life. His father's arm was being devoured. This was the first time he had ever remembered something like that. Then, panic attack incoming. But Jigachad Mom snapped him back to reality, asking why he looked so pale. Yeah, working for the government really was exhausting. Still looking a little shaky, he told her not to worry. He was getting used to it. Back at work, someone called out. Officer Maru Han. He had been hiding, trying to keep a low profile, but now they awkwardly stepped forward, greeting everyone. Jiwon immediately asked him what happened yesterday and why he had disappeared without saying anything. Xiaomu scoffed. Isn't it obvious? The coward got scared and ran away. Instead of explaining that he had left to save his mother, Maru just apologized. Meanwhile, Kang Chana, who somehow kept getting more stunning every day, casually spoke up. He was sick, so I gave him the day off. Maru blinked. Why was she covering for him? She was just staring at him as if silently telling him, "Don't say anything." Jiwon sighed and said Kang should have notified them about something like that. Kang apologized. Jiwon, however, wasn't letting it slide. You get to say sorry after making a mistake like that. Before the argument could escalate, the alarm went off. Kang immediately started changing into her gear. She said she was heading out to take down a level 2 demon. Then, out of nowhere, Maru enthusiastically shouted, "I'm going too." The entire room fell silent. A while later, they were hiking up the mountain. On the way, Maru apologized for making her take the blame for his mistake. Kang shrugged. She said she knew he had left because she had been too harsh on him, so it was fine. But why did you come back? Maru was already sweating and out of breath, and they were only halfway up the mountain. Still, he managed to answer. He was here to fight now. Right at that moment, yellow dust started rising. A massive fat creature emerged in the distance. The ground shook. The monster charged straight at them. It was a huge, gray, obese old man, yelling that he was ready to fight. Kang Chana warned them, even though it's level 2, don't underestimate it. After all, an entire mountain team had been wiped out by a mere level 5 demon. Maru knew exactly which one she was talking about, the one he had beaten yesterday. Then Yosiak, the TikToker, casually commented that those guys were lucky HQ had taken care of the monster. The main branch only had level 7 and above users, meaning they were on a completely different level. Maru froze. Should he say it? Should he tell them it was actually him who had killed it? The problem was, he had left early yesterday. He'd have to explain a lot, but he wanted recognition. He wanted them to know he worked hard too. But before he could say anything, Kang asked, "What is that demon doing?" The creature had its hands under its arms, scratching its armpits. Someone yelled for them to step back. Maru suddenly stepped forward and said, "No need, I'll handle this." Kang looked genuinely surprised. Since when does a level 1 user think they can take on a level 2? Maru pointed at himself. That level 1 user is me. He faced the demon, then slicked back his hair. Time to show how much he had evolved since killing the monster on the mountain. He mimicked the monster's movements, scratching his armpits. I'm not a useless member of this team anymore. A horrific stench filled the air. The moment the monster sniffed, it screamed and ran away. That's supposed to be my ability. Even Maru was disgusted by what he had done. Still, he rushed in for a fistfight. I'm not losing to trash like this. He landed punches right in its stomach, making it stumble. Yosuk, meanwhile, covered his nose, saying this wasn't a fight. It was chemical warfare. Kang Chana was dizzy, barely standing. How could a level 7 be affected this badly? Maru kept flailing his arms, locked in a high-intensity slap battle with the monster. The creature wailed, realizing its own ability was working against it. It vomited, collapsed, and passed out. Maru turned to the others, smiling. I won, right? They did not look impressed. Later, they all washed up in the river. Kang Chana, sitting nearby, kept watching Maru. Then she asked, so you really can absorb demon abilities through gluttony? Maru nodded, explaining that the last demon he ate had the ability to reflect attacks. Yoseok mocked him. Oh, so that's what your whole dramatic speech was for. All that build-up for that? Maru felt a little embarrassed, but Kang just shrugged. It doesn't matter. You did well. You're improving. Maru blushed, until she ruined the moment by adding, but honestly, you're still disgusting for having to eat those things. Humiliating. They left soon after, saying they needed to check for more demons. Maru sat there, wondering, why did I have to get stuck with that monster? Why can't I ever look cool? Then someone appeared behind him. Are you Maru Han? Maru froze, covering his face. Who are you? It was Zhang. You only had one question. Did you kill the level 5 demon on the mountain? Considering Maru was supposed to be a level 1 user, this was extremely strange. Maru, feeling awkward, answered yes. Zhang smiled. I'm here to take you to HQ in Seoul. Maru blinked. Wait, was this a promotion? Zhang simply asked. You know what HQ is, right? Maru nodded. As far as he knew, it was where the elite worked. So why was he being taken there? Zhang, still smiling like a K-drama protagonist, said, because I recognize talent when I see it. Petition for the artist to spend less time drawing this guy and use that extra time on the ones we really care about. Back at headquarters, Yu Young was questioning the director about why he had delayed the meeting. He explained that a new recruit had caught his attention. She immediately asked if he was talking about his son, the kid named Shanwoo. Oh, so that's why I hated that bastard the moment I saw him. He's a nepotism hire. The director explained that the kid hadn't spoken to him since the divorce, but the person he was interested in wasn't him. It was another new recruit. Yu Young raised an eyebrow. You think the sudden appearance of high-level demons might be related to this recruit? He nodded. I have a feeling. Keep an eye on Gangway Island. The scene shifted to another portal of yellow dust. Inside what looked like a house, a small, twisted creature crouched in the shadows. Something that looked like a sickly, mutated gremlin. Back at the police station, Maru was grinning like an idiot, absolutely thrilled that he had been invited to work at headquarters. This was huge. Then reality hit him. If they were calling him there, that meant it was even more dangerous than here. He had to remember, safety first. Right now, he was in a beautifully peaceful workplace. Still, it felt damn good to be recognized by someone at the top of the top. Right then, Samu was staring at him from across the room. Why have you been walking around with that stupid smile all day? It was obvious how much this arrogant asshole hated seeing a level 1 weakling enjoying an easy life in this office. But for once, Maru fought back. You're the incompetent one. You wanted to work at HQ, but you're not there, so you don't have the right to say anything. Samu's face darkened. He stood up, fuming. Say that again. Like how he was going to sit there and take moral lectures from someone who has the ability of stinky armpits. Maru froze. Who the hell leaked that information? He glanced around. Right as Yoseok started typing away at his computer, pretending to be busy. Maru immediately knew. It was that bastard. Feeling the rage of 1,000 suns, he lunged. Yoseok instantly ran for his life. Meanwhile, Go Deokman was laughing his ass off and Juwon told everyone to stop bullying Maru. Maru sighed, relieved. Juwon, you really are a good person. Then she clapped her hands and said, at least you're not hiding in the bathroom anymore. Now you just stink a little. That's progress. Maru felt his soul leave his body. The embarrassment never ended. To make things worse, he hated how Kang was just indifferent to everything. Even after he helped her that day, he was still seen as useless here. He looked down at Zhang's contact information. Zhang had told him to send a message when he made a decision. Then Kang stood up and announced that a level 2 creature had appeared. Right then, Samu grabbed her arm and said, I'm going this time. He was bored out of his mind in this office and felt like he was going to explode if he stayed any longer. Then he turned to Maru. You're coming too. We need to work on team bonding. On the way to the mountain, the two of them were sweating under the brutal sun as they climbed. But when it came to hunting monsters, Samu was more excited than we were when we first saw Kang Chana. Maru, on the other hand, didn't want to spend another second next to this psychopath. He wanted to finish this job and go home. Then Samu stopped and said, this won't be as easy as you think. Maru followed his gaze. The entire house ahead was covered in yellow dust. Maru figured there must be more than one person inside. But Samu ignored him, walked ahead, and told him to hurry up. The gate creaked open. Maru hesitated, staying at the edge. Something felt wrong. Inside the door, there was way too much yellow dust. Enough for there to be a level 4 creature. They walked inside, and Maru muttered that they should turn back. These things could appear out of nowhere. But Xianwu kept walking forward. Then they reached a green door. Maru knew. The monster was right behind it. Xianwu turned the handle. Locked. Maru stepped in front of him. This is dangerous. We don't know what's inside. But Xianwu had already put on his gloves. If you don't want to open it, I'll just break it. He twists his pinky to open it. Our boy gets startled, but nothing happens. He's confused while Maru tells him to stop acting all confident when he can't even open a lock. Xianwu then goes to take a look through the keyhole. Sitting at the back of the room, you can see the scrawny little devil. The protagonist pushed him aside, saying he wanted to take a look too. Seeing him in the corner, and he said the thing looked weak. However, the guy warned that judging by the amount of dust, this creature was at least level 7 or higher. Frightened, our boy wants to know why something that strong is on this island. Xianwu replies that he has no idea, but now he understands why his heart was racing. For a long time, he's been eager to fight a truly strong monster. Our boy already took off running, saying that Lunatic was going to put both their lives at risk, so it's better to call headquarters right away. However, when he turned the lock, it wasn't opening. He starts slamming his shoulder against it, wanting to know why they can't leave the way they came in. That's when he realizes that, obviously, it must be the work of the demon hiding in the room. Meanwhile, Xianwu was kicking and punching, trying to force the door open, shouting at the damn recluse to come out so they can fight. Maru, on the other hand, doesn't want to spend even a second against that demon, much less against that psychopath, especially knowing it's a Hikikomori level 7 demon. The blackhead was just standing there, then suddenly started repeating something about being lonely. He kept saying lonely, lonely, while his face began to distort. Looking at his fingers, Xianwu sees that his entire hand was already broken, yet the door didn't have a scratch on it. What the hell was this thing made of? Meanwhile, Maru is slamming a chair against the window, but unfortunately, even that isn't working. It seems that lonely creature's power was creating a trap house. At that moment, his heart starts to tighten. The situation triggers a panic attack, and he wonders if the office people are going to arrive anytime soon. 2 hours pass, and he's already furious, unsure if those bastards just forgot about them. In an office, Diefman yells that they have a problem. Jiwon looks around and says they really forgot about the training date in Busan. Everyone starts flipping through files and working, saying they're about to sort it out. Kang Chana slams the keyboard, gets up, runs, grabs the file, and hands it over to the guy. He thanks everyone for their hard work and says they'll see them tomorrow. Jiwon sits on the couch and says that after hard work, they should enjoy a nice coffee in peace. Everyone relaxes for a second of peace. That's when they all wonder where those two had been for the past 3 hours. She face-bombs, saying this is exactly why you shouldn't send a rookie alone. And strangely, she calls them on TikTok and tells Kang Chana and another guy to stay there. Thank God, as beautiful and wonderful as always, thanks to the artist for putting in extra effort, she gets up and says she's going too because she has a bad feeling. She walks past Jiwon, who stares at her and warns that this place was very close to that other place. So is she really going by chance? The girl seems to have some kind of trauma. She just stands up and tells them to hurry. If I had to bet $1 trillion, I'd say her family was killed by demons, and that's why she's so determined to kill them. The scene shifts to the house and everyone is already inside asking where the two are. Through the dust in the background, they see a shadow approaching. It was the desperate fools shouting at them not to let the door close. But it was too late. It shut right in their faces, and the fools wondered why they had barged in like that. Already slumped on the floor, Jiwon wants to know what happened to them. The situation is explained and they stand by the door. They realize that apparently the demon doesn't want to leave. That's when Kang tells everyone to step back, pulls a small arm out from her body, and forms a katana. She slashes at it, but obviously, nothing happens. Yosuk is terrified that even her attack didn't leave a mark. Jiwon then tells them to wait because she'll handle it. She pulls up her jacket sleeve, revealing a small black orb on her arm. A tiny spider appears, and guess what her ability is called? Demon Spider. She tells Minnie to go in, but the lock was too small for her chubby spider, and unfortunately, it didn't work. Our boy watches her consoling the spider and remarks that she seems like the weirdest one so far. Soundwoo then tells TikTok to do something instead of just standing there, but he replies that he has no abilities. Maru takes the opportunity to mock him, saying that he seems completely useless in battle. However, the boy fires back that our guy is the useless one. Or are all those abilities he's been absorbing? Why doesn't he use the needle power to unlock everything? To which our protagonist explains that the creature is too far away, he can't see clearly, and his powers don't reach that far. At that moment, it seemed like everyone was useless. Xianwu wants to know who's going to save them if there's no one else in the office. Jiwon says the leader won't because he left for training and won't return until tomorrow. Then Yosek reminds them that they still have Kim Yi back nearby. The old bespectacled man suddenly appears, scaring everyone. They ask when he got there, he responds that he arrived because no one had come back yet. Everyone is shaken that this weird guy has zero presence, making it impossible to notice when he arrives. He walks up to the lock to take a look, and Jiwon asks if he can handle it. Suddenly, he lies down on the floor and starts taking a nap. Maru thinks to himself that either this guy is extremely calm or has some bizarre ability. Jiwon explains that she has no idea what his ability is because she's never seen him use it. The poor ones are devastated. Everyone who came to save them so far was useless. Jiwon claps her hands and tells them to focus and find a way out together. But Sehun just reminds her that they've already tried everything, so there's no way out. She asks if he's prepared to die without doing anything. TikTok suggests waiting for the leader while our boy bites his nails in fear. In the background, he wonders why Kang was just standing there doing nothing. Something about that was weird. Yoseok, however, wants to understand why the demon isn't moving or trying anything against them. That's when, out of nowhere, a tremor shakes everyone. Kang immediately takes off running, saying it came from the main room. She opens the door, takes a look, and it seems like the whole room is moving. The walls and ceiling were coming down, and the house seemed to be shrinking. That's when Seonwoo states that now, the purpose of that lonely Hakisha is obvious. It will keep shrinking and shrinking the space until the house is reduced to just its room. Maru realizes that, given they can't destroy the walls, they're going to be crushed to death. No one has any idea what to do, and our boy desperately needs a solution. Then we see a flashback to 4 years ago, with 2 women gathering plants. A younger, cuter Kang arrives, greeting them with a cheerful hi, and then what might be her sister runs up to hug her. A happy family in the middle of the mountains. You already know this isn't going to end well. The two were clearly very close and talked about growing up together with their grandma. Kang saw a drawing on the wall and told her to stop doing that or she'd get scolded. But her sister replied that it was their happy family portrait. The drawing was right on the wall that was now shrinking. It was in the very house she grew up in, apparently, and at that moment, she activated her mummy power, pulled out a massive sword, and slashed at the wall. But the place kept shrinking and her sword started to crack. She realized she'd have to use more blood and things started getting serious. She was completely wrapped in bandages. Her neck was already turning gray and Jiwon shouted for her to stop because it was getting dangerous. That's when Maru ran in and yanked her out, breaking the sword. She looked devastated and cried as she watched everything disappear. But just in time, Maru managed to pull her out of that room. The girl, however, seemed to have fainted and Jiwon tried to wake her up. Our protagonist already knew she passed out from using too much blood. What he didn't understand was why she went that far just for a wall. That's when Seonwoo revealed that this house belonged to Kang's grandmother, and she lost both her grandma and younger brother while living here. She barely survived alone, and that's when she gained her abilities. Maru now understood why she acted that way and seemed so scared. Yoseok says that, at least for now, the house has stopped shrinking. They would have to find a way out soon before they ran out of rooms. Seeing the small piece that Kang tore from the wall, Jiwon throws out the saying, "Soft water on hard stone keeps hitting until rage." Sometime later, the sounds of attacks echo through the forest. There was Seonwoo, who managed to carve out a tiny hole with his knife and a billion strikes. Everyone had already used up all their energy and couldn't do anything anymore. A knife falls on Maru's lap and Seonwoo says it's his turn now. He gets up, his arm still in bad shape, dying of thirst. But just as he's about to start, Kang snatches the knife from his hand and says she'll do it. He asks her to rest a little longer, but she insists she's fine. She goes to the wall and starts scraping. Our boy comments that he heard this was her grandmother's house. He found it strange that such an abandoned place was so clean, so she must have been taking care of it. She says it's because she's been waiting for the day the demon that killed her family would return. Maru doesn't understand how she knows the creature will come back one day. She explains that the demon from that time was completely different. A creature with a feminine silhouette emerged from the gate. At that moment, she was so scared she couldn't move. When she looked to the side, another one was approaching. This one had a masculine body, stared at her, and seemed to have awareness and intelligence. They had some purpose beyond just killing people. She knows that if the prophecy comes true, that creature will appear again. Now he understands why she's part of this island's team despite being a level 7 user. She asks if he's disappointed that her reason is something so cliche, but Maru says no. He's there because he couldn't escape, and because the salary is good. She keeps hitting the wall, saying that if that's the case, soon enough, he'll be in Seoul, since the salary here is even better. He asks how she knows, and she explains that she saw Jong talking to him that day. Just as she's about to explain why she's sure he'll do a great job, the whole place starts moving again. Everyone screams for them to head for the hallway and escape the area. During the escape, Maru is curious about what she was going to say. The next morning, the house has already shrunk by half. Everyone is exhausted, wondering if this will ever end. Yoseok says their only chance of getting out alive is the leader, but why isn't he here yet? Meanwhile, Kim Yibak is still peacefully sleeping. Our boy is getting fed up, saying that while everyone is struggling to escape, that guy isn't even awake. That's when everything starts shaking again, and our boy says they need to get Kim Yibak out of the hallway. But the guy is standing up covered in fungi, looking like a ghost. Everyone asks what's going on with him, and he replies that he thinks now is the perfect time. Suddenly, the door opens and the creature dashes out, desperate and covered in fungus. Everyone shakes Kim Yibak, demanding to know what he did. He explains that he has the mold fungus demon, but it takes a long time to spread. Everyone starts clapping and praising him, saying he did an amazing job and that he's incredible, while he just looks embarrassed. But Seonwoo and Kang remind them to stay focused because they haven't won yet. The demon stood in front of them crying until something appeared from its back. A whole bunch of creatures emerged, staring at them. Turns out the lonely one wasn't so lonely after all. That's what Maru thought as they all leaped to attack. A strange red thread was extending from its back. Kang ordered Yoseok to hide everyone. He then activated his Zero Presence ability, which was almost like invisibility. Kang kept moving forward, slicing through the demons. The problem was that the hallway was too narrow, and her sword kept getting stuck in the walls. As soon as that happened, the creatures started crawling along her blade. just when she thought she was about to get attacked. Our boy went straight for a bite to the neck. As he was being devoured, though, he stretched his hand upward and clenched it. The ceiling started to lower, and TikToker shouted that they were all going to die. But our boy now said no. He revealed the power of the mirror ability. With that, he threw his arms up and commanded the ceiling to stop. His friend praised him, but the demons were still attacking, until one of their heads exploded because Samu had broken a pinky finger. He even told our boy to stay hidden behind the barrier since he was just a level 1. Maru was about to warn him to be careful, but it was too late. He got bitten on the shoulder, on the arm, on the stomach. A bunch of creatures climbing him. Then, out of nowhere, something white and massive came stabbing through the monsters. Jiwon's little spider was now gigantic. She had her eyes closed, seemingly controlling the beast. Meanwhile, Kang was slicing through the creatures and Seonwoo was breaking them apart one by one. Inside the barrier, Seonwoo and our boy were staring at each other. They started teasing each other, praising their friends, saying they really do work hard, huh? Making fools of themselves in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Jiwon wonders why creatures keep endlessly pouring out of that room. As soon as our boy hears that, he dashes off, saying he's going to handle it now. He asks them to clear a path and Kang and Seonwoo oblige. He manages to get past the monsters and falls into the room. And hidden behind all the Smeagol's, the real one was crouched there. He realizes that this bastard was only fighting using clones. Every time something hit its head, a new one was born. So Maru raises his arms and says that if that's the case, he's bringing the ceiling down and the thing can stay right there. As soon as he did that, he tried to run for the exit, but his power was working too well, and the ceiling was coming down way too fast. He saw his friends reach out his arm for help and was barely pulled to safety in time. Now, outside, everyone was celebrating. People were praising his mirror ability, saying it was truly incredible. Meanwhile, Kang looked to the side, remembering the memories she had there with her grandmother and brother. Maru noticed this and then deactivated the mirror ability since it was no longer needed now that the creature was dead. He looked at the creature on the ground and went in to devour it while everyone wondered what he was doing. He had already swallowed one monster before, and he had to be quick to take advantage of the yellow dust still in the air. With that, he activated the creature's ability and started pushing the walls. The problem was that using the power consumed dust, and soon he couldn't move them anymore. Kang then grabbed his arm, told him it was okay, and thanked him. At least what he had managed to restore was enough for the drawing to reappear. Back at the office, DEVOURS arrives excited, saying that something good is happening today. And that's when he realizes there's no one in the place. He went through the trouble of getting the best bread from Busan, so where was everyone? He looks toward the break room and wonders if those brats are still knocked out in the morning. Right then, he gets a call from Jong and asks what's up. Jong immediately reveals that he called Maru to headquarters, but Maru refused, and he wants to know why. DEVOURS glances to the side and sees the girls sleeping, looking beautiful and peaceful. Meanwhile, our boy is there sweaty and stinking. His life wasn't perfect yet, but he was adjusting to the team. The next scene cuts and our guy is being completely torn in half. Someone yells at him to run. But now we're going back 7 hours earlier. Now that's what I call a spoiler, folks. Our boy was dying of sleep, complaining that when he was looking for a job, he never imagined making money would be this hard. He was still exhausted from the battle against the demon. Then he heard a car passing by, and of course, it was a Porsche. Obviously, it was Seonwoo, the filthy rich millionaire bastard. And our boy, shameless as ever, goes up to him asking for a ride. But Seonwoo just speeds off without a word. TikToker appears out of nowhere, commenting on how jealous he is of that bastard who even has an imported car. But it was kind of weird for a public servant to drive something like that to work. Maru agrees, saying that in the end, the guy is just weird. Then Yoseok says that no matter how handsome, rich, or tall the guy is, none of that matters because he has a trash personality and probably doesn't have any friends. The two laugh, but Maru starts thinking he doesn't have any of that and he doesn't have any friends either, so he's just losing in every way. Next scene, they arrive at the office looking drained. DEVOURS opens his arms, calling our boy an amazing level 7 ability user. He's confused, pushing the boss away, trying to figure out what they're talking about. That's when Jiwon explains that if he ate a level 7 creature and stole its abilities, then now he's level 7. Meanwhile, someone pats him on the back, saying they always thought the kid was just dead weight, but now he's finally useful for something. Our boy blushes, realizing that being recognized by the team feels really nice. Then Yoseok comments that his talent is actually incredible. This is the first time he's seen someone who will just keep getting stronger. Suddenly, Seonwoo slams the table. He says the workday has already started, so they need to stop chatting. Our poor boy realizes that this bastard hates him for no reason. Just because he was humiliated before for being level 1, now he has to suffer for it. Right then, Miss Gorgeous taps his shoulder and asks if they can talk for a bit. Now outside, sitting on a bench, he asks what's up. She says she just wanted to thank him for what happened at her grandmother's house yesterday. He awkwardly scratches his head, saying that they're a team, so it was only natural. But suddenly, she turns and says that after that incident, she's sure about how she feels about him. Our boy blushes hard, wondering what's coming next. And then she says she's sure he's not a level 1 ability user. What a tragedy. I thought it was going to be something good. He asks her to explain, and she says there's no way he could have recovered so well with the level 1 power. He remembers the chubby creature he first bit and is sure that one was level 1. But then Kang asks if, by any chance, he saw another demon before he started working here. He thinks for a moment, saying there's no way he'd forget something that important. And that's when he notices smoke behind her. Immediately, a panic attack kicks in, and a black claw appears. A humanoid wolf stares at him, drooling, and his heart starts pounding. He drops his can, and she asks what's wrong. He tells her not to worry. It's just that sometimes his mind makes up scary things. But she calls his bluff, grabs his hand, and tells him not to worry because he's safe with her around. I wish I was safe too. And now she's sure there's definitely something in this guy's past. That's when DEVOURS appears, asking if they're done with their little office date. Completely flustered, he says no, they don't have that kind of relationship. And Kang just casually says that in a year, there will be rain and demons in this place, so relationships only even make sense. She's not even considering anything like that. Her words hit him harder than a level 10 demon's attack. That blow was brutal. Now he's just lying dead on the bench. DEVOURS teases him, and our boy tries to defend himself, saying he already explained. It's not like that. At the same time, though, he really did feel sad about those words, didn't he, folks? Some time passes, and Juwon mentions that before they leave, they should check the alerts. Meanwhile, Kang and our boy are climbing the mountains. Ever since that conversation on the bench, he's felt weird being around her. Kang reaches the meter and starts taking notes on the yellow dust. Maru, on the other hand, is now convinced he really doesn't have time for relationships, since everything is going to end in a year. Both of them are lost in thought, thinking that they need to find a way to kill these damn demons. When suddenly, the phone starts ringing. It's a distress call from Zone 3, and Yosek is the one speaking. He says that Leader DEVOURS has already been defeated and that the creature is heading their way. He warns them to be careful with their words, and then all of a sudden, the call seems to cut out. Kang says this is concerning. DEVOURS is a level 10 ability user, and he was defeated. Maru, however, is shocked. That lazy guy is a level 10 user. The yellow dust starts appearing, and she warns him to be careful. The demon that was coming was completely different from any they had faced before. Its silhouette appears, the two of them brace themselves, and then a thin creature in a kimono emerges in front of them. The monster blinks a single eye that catches both of them off guard. It greets them, saying it's a pleasure to meet humans, and asks if they can have a little chat. It says it's interested in talking to the one who runs things here. Maru is stunned. Not only can this thing speak, but it communicates exactly like a person. Kang tells him to stay alert, but the monster asks them not to be hostile. It claims it doesn't want to fight. It's only here to have a conversation. Maru doesn't understand what kind of conversation it means, but he remembers that Yosef warned them not to talk to the creature. Yet our protagonist ignores that warning and thinks this might be a good chance to gather information. So he asks where the creature is from. It replies that it comes from Naraka. Maru has no idea where that is, so the demon explains it's the deepest part of hell. Those who committed grave sins in their existence are imprisoned in that place, trapped in infinite darkness, and forced to fight forever. Maru starts to piece things together and asks if that means, yes, every demon that exists here was once human. Our boy suddenly remembers himself eating the creatures, which means he's been eating people. He starts vomiting immediately. The demon then says it's its turn to ask a question. Maru shudders for a second, but Kang grabs his arm and tells him to stop talking. Even if the demon seems friendly on the surface, she's sure this is the one that took down their leader. She's already prepared a giant spear, but the demon tells her to stop, that it doesn't like violence. She doesn't hesitate though and lunges forward, ready to attack. It smiles and warns her that killing it now won't bring her brother back. She freezes in shock as it effortlessly redirects her spear with just a finger. Then it tells her it was her fault for being too weak and letting her brother die. That's when a memory floods back, the moment her brother stepped in front to protect her. Damn, he even looked a lot like our boy. With his chest pierced, he told her to run and collapse into her arms. She had sobbed desperately. And now, back in the present, she has no idea how this creature knows that. The demon says that as his older sister, it was her responsibility to protect him. But still, the little boy ended up dying. Maru calls out to Kang and rushes to catch her in his arms. Wait, where did all this blood come from? He hadn't even noticed anything happening. Maru realizes that this thing can probably attack people psychologically. And now they're screwed because if anyone has a weak mental state, it's our protagonist. The demon then says they can continue their conversation and leave that pathetic human aside. But Maru tells him no and orders the monster to shut its filthy mouth. Then he launches himself at the demon, saying he won't let it talk about her like that. He punches it right in the head, smashing it into a rock. The demon is still fixing its teeth when Maru is already coming in for a second blow. Then the monster suddenly laughs and says, so that's how he's acting, huh? But didn't he just get rejected by her? Out of nowhere, Maru freezes, stopping in his tracks like something had struck his heart. He stutters. That doesn't make sense. He's never been rejected before. That kind of thing shouldn't affect him. So why does he suddenly feel dizzy? He doesn't have any romantic feelings for her. He just thinks she's a strong and cool senior. Meanwhile, she's still on the ground, apologizing. For a moment he pauses, but then the pain in his chest gets worse, and he coughs up a pool of blood. The demon picks up a rock and says it hates emotions because emotions are things for weak people. Even back when it was human, it never felt anything like that. It moves closer to Maru and asks, why isn't he answering? Did a cat cut out his tongue? Now Maru finally understands why even a level 10 ability user couldn't defeat this thing. The demon tosses the rock into the air and says it's time to end this since the boy can't even speak. As the rock comes down to finish him, Maru thinks, unless someone with a cold, emotionless heart shows up, there's no way he'll be saved. The rock is about to crush him when suddenly, the demon's whole body contorts violently. The emotionless bastard finally appears, demanding to know why a level 1 is lying on the ground. Our boy grins, saying he's never been so happy to see a sociopath. But the guy is already irritated, asking why this damn fool is smiling at him like that out of nowhere. Then Xianwu hears the demon mutter, "Huh, that one actually tickled a little." The creature adjusts its head, saying that its vocal cords are quite hard to break, especially considering how low their level is. Now was attacking their egos, and both of them were ready to beat the hell out of this loudmouth. They stood face to face with the monster, and our boy warned Xianwu to be careful since that bastard used psychological attacks. But Xianwu just told him to watch, had shown how to handle it. Obviously, our boy was pissed and wanted to kill this bastard himself, but he had no choice. They had to deal with this. Xianwu broke another finger, and with that, a piece of the demon's body shattered. The demon immediately took advantage of the wound and taunted him. If that was all he had, he would never earn his father's approval. But nothing happened. Xianwu just kept breaking fingers and attacking the monster. The creature chuckled, saying that apparently this guy was emotionless, just like him. That's what happens when you're the son of a woman who took her own life after being abandoned by her husband. Damn. Now King Xianwu's tragic backstory, explaining why the guy was so messed up. Obviously, Maru had no idea about this. He had thought the guy was just some spoiled rich kid. Even someone as cold as him wouldn't be able to handle a psychological attack like that. But then Maru froze. Xianwu was laughing. The bastard asked what that had to do with anything. It wasn't his fault. It was his mother's for being too weak. Then he struck the demon's neck and said that in this world, only the strong survive. The monster grinned and said that if that was the case, then Xianwu wouldn't last long, because he was much weaker than Han Maru. Now that psychological attack actually worked. But our boy jumped in the way and blocked the strike, saying he had figured out the pattern. The monster disorients people with psychological attacks and then launches a blade from its mouth. Right then, Kang swooped in and sliced off the creature's tongue, making it writhe in pain. She asked if Maru was okay, and our boy was in love, thinking, as expected, she's amazing. I'm right there with him, falling for her just like this fool. But he shook it off, telling himself to focus on the fight. He grabbed Xianwu and shook him, trying to snap him out of his daze. But damn, that hit about him being weaker than Han Maru really got to him. On the other hand, our boy was proud that someone like Xianwu was jealous of him. But then he stepped on the guy and told him to get over it. It wasn't that bad being worse than him. He might be super cool, but for now, Xianwu was still cooler than him. Suddenly, Xianwu snapped back and scoffed, saying, obviously, after all, you're still a trash level 1. The three of them then turned to face the boss, knowing they had to kill it before nightfall. Otherwise, they'd be at a disadvantage. Maru wondered how they were supposed to do that. If he got too close, a monster would use its tongue. But Kang said this was the perfect time since for now it couldn't talk. However, Xianwu immediately objected, saying she wasn't in any condition to fight. The wound on her chest wasn't healing. At that moment, Maru bolted to the side, thinking he needed to find a way to deal with this monster. He started waving his arms, calling the monster an idiot and telling it he was right there. The creature turned to him. That was the opening he had been waiting for. He told Xianwu to take care of Kang while he used the new power he had received. But his friend was confused. After all, his power only worked in closed spaces. Kang immediately shouted at Xianwu would help Maru before he got himself killed doing something stupid. Meanwhile, our boy was sprinting for his life, with the monster right behind him, its tongue flailing everywhere. He was scanning his surroundings, looking for an enclosed space, but unfortunately, there weren't any buildings around. Just as he was trying to figure out a solution, a car sped past him. There was Xianwu, who slammed on the brakes and told him to get in. Without hesitation, Maru leaped toward the car, furious that this bastard was risking such an expensive ride. Typical rich kid behavior. Our boy was jealous of this damn billionaire. He landed through the sunroof, already opening the door as the monster closed in from behind. The creature aimed a deadly attack at the car while Maru screamed that Xianwu could get inside. But this was actually a trap. The monster lunged in and Xianwu locked it inside. He told Maru the plan was working. Maru was about to jump out again, thinking everything was set. But then, the scene from the start played out, and our boy was sliced into 36 pieces. The monster grinned as it crawled out of the car, satisfied that it had killed him. But then, a hand grabbed its neck. The creature looked back and understood Maru. That's when we see what really happened. The moment he got in the car, Maru had activated his clone ability. Now, multiple Muras were attacking the monster, grabbing it from all sides and pulling it back inside while devouring it. The monster shrieked in agony, desperately searching for the real one, who was hidden in the back. Xianwu was banging on the window, demanding to know why the bastard wasn't getting out. Then Kang arrived, asking where Maru was. As it was being consumed, the monster wheezed that this wasn't necessary. They could just sit down and talk for a bit. Or was Maru just naturally violent, just like his father? And then, the psychological attack hit. Maru was suddenly dragged into a memory, tears in his eyes, his father lifting him by the collar, yelling at him to stop. Stop what? The monster asked him. How did he feel when his father disappeared without a word? Maru didn't want to hear any of this. He slammed his own ears to make himself go deaf. With blood gushing from his ears, he told the monster to stop playing with people's emotions. The creature seemed to be moving its mouth, trying to get him to read its lips. But he just scowled and said its attacks meant nothing if he couldn't understand what was being said. With that, he clenched his fists and the ceiling began to collapse. Outside, Kang tried to stop it, but Seonwoo grabbed her arms, telling her there was nothing they could do. The car kept shaking violently. Our boy had turned into a red puddle. At that moment, Kang realized the yellow dust was disappearing. The car was completely flattened, and she stepped forward, saying they had to save Maru. Seonwoo, already ready to give up, said that the kid had been dead for a while now. But Kang insisted, as long as there was still yellow dust in the air, there was a chance to save him. She tore pieces of the car apart, demanding to know why this idiot crushed himself like that. They heard fate knocking, and Seonwoo immediately jumped in to help, wondering the same thing. Meanwhile, our boy was somewhere else entirely. He had no idea where he was. It was like he couldn't even feel his own body. At least he hoped he had managed to take that damn loudmouth down. Then he tried to recall the creature's last mouth movements. It had warned him. The abyss was searching for him, and he needed to remember the call. Losing consciousness, he wondered, what the hell is this call thing? Suddenly, the monster screamed at him to wake up. His eyes snapped open, and he found himself in a red place. His clothes began writhing. A hand emerged from his stomach. And then, that same black furry dog started crawling out of him. Maru, clearly not in the best shape, demanded to know what the hell that thing was. The monster stepped up to him and asked, "You remember?" Flashback, back when he was a child, when he first saw that creature. The monster had stared at both him and his father. Maru, terrified, had told his dad, "This is weird, we should run." But his father grabbed him by the collar and said no. From that day forward, they were going to fight. Crying, Maru had begged to know why. That was when his father told him, because they needed to obtain that bastard's unique ability. He had dragged his son along, saying they were now heading for the abyss. Then he threw the boy in front of the beast. The moment it raised its head, Maru was seconds away from being devoured. Back to the present. Seonwoo was breaking fingers again, using what little yellow dust remained to tear apart the crushed car. After nearly gutting the whole thing at the very bottom, there was Maru, wrapped in blood-red, vacuum-sealed like a corpse. Staying him, Seonwoo declared there was no more dust. He couldn't recover. He looked to the side, knowing that the kid had no more hope. Meanwhile, Kang was grabbing Maru's hand, asking if he could hear her. Suddenly, his finger twitched. That's when the two of them realized it. Just like a demon, Maru was producing his own yellow dust. His broken bones began spinning, twisting, realigning, and the kid stood up.